Coming up next on KISS My Kollectibles, Vinnie Vincent returns, the Atlanta KISS Expo 2018. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channels on YouTube and iTunes.
Look, it's rock and roll!
All right, KISS Army. It's time to shout it out loud and kiss my collectibles.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of KISS My Kollectibles. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason Herndon, and with me, as always, is
Andrew Scambatti. Good to be here.
Yeah. And joining us today, all the way out from California, with his Rams pillows back there, is Mr. Jonathan Fenno. Say hi, Jonathan.
Hello, KISS World.
That's good. That's good.
That is good. We have with us today. This is going to be our Atlanta 2018 KISS Expo update, and I had the pleasure of meeting John.
Wrap up, not update. Wrap up.
Wrap up. Thank you.
Wrap up.
Thank you. Wrap up. And I asked Jonathan to come on with us because, I had the pleasure of finally meeting him after all these years of talking to him online in Atlanta this past weekend, and his love for Vinnie was on full display. So. There's really some great moments, and I just want to get some different perspectives. We all three were there in person, so we're going to talk about that and maybe a few other things. So let's chat about the Atlanta KISS Expo, guys.
Well, actually, before we do that, since this is Jonathan's first time being on, kind of tell everybody when you became a KISS fan. Give us a brief version of your KISStory and why Atlanta was so important to you.
Good
idea. Okay. Let's see how I first saw KISS or came across something KISS. I was in kindergarten going back to Mrs. Jones' class, and a kid was walking into the cafeteria after we were finished. And I didn't say, "Who was that?" I looked at his shirt and I go, "What is that?" And he goes, "That's KISS. My brother took me there last night and they were awesome." I had no clue that they were a band. And I started asking around school, and people said, "Yeah, they're awesome. You got to hear their music." And these three brothers, Jimmy, Tommy, and Johnny Andreessen, already had the first three KISS albums, and they were going to get KISS Alive really soon. And so I was all excited and went over their house, and Jimmy used to stand on his kitchen chair pretending he knew all the words to the Paul Stanley rap during 100,000 Years, and I just couldn't get over that. And then the explosions of Black Diamond, and it was over. And it took me 4 years to finally see them in '79. After that, in Hampton Coliseum in like July '79. I was actually interviewed in Spin magazine for the 1996 issue. Bob Guccione sent an assistant up all day to interview me as the biggest KISS fan, and pretty much, my background is there on
one
that.
Of these?
Oh yeah! Whoa! Yeah.
There you go.
If you read, I'm in there. It's been a while.
I trust you.
And then, and I brought a couple of friends over, but I wanted to go back. I tried to talk this to Vinnie, but we were so rushed because there were so many people there, of course. But it was a long time waiting from Dynasty to Creatures to see a KISS concert, and as we all generally agree, it was kind of a downward spiral for KISS, and you had to kind of hold your own flag for them for a while, and I used to get picked on a lot, and it wasn't cool. And
can I ask you how old you were in '79 when you saw them?
I was almost 10, like 2 or 3 days from my birthday.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So yeah, so my formative years and all that, and weird stuff like I almost got kicked off the football team to watch Eric Carr being introduced on Kids Are People 2. Luckily, the first time I met him, I was wearing the Palladium shirt, his first show, and it was just by chance this guy Dom had an extra backstage pass stuck to his, and I met him. So, I was in shock.
Now, do you still have the Palladium T-shirt?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. And I actually had him autograph it on the shirt.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of cool. He was kind of pushing me around. Hey, guys, look, he's wearing my first shirt. And, I was just nervous enough, meeting them by chance because I wasn't ready yet. And, yeah, but it took a long time from 79 to 83 to, it seemed forever for KISS to come back and forcing myself to get into the Elder when people didn't. And then, even before that went Unmasked, it was kind of thin for me. And I didn't have any emotional attachments to any of those songs. And I didn't know till about a week and a half before the gig when the Virginian Pilot had the photo of Vinnie in the corner of the promotional Creatures photo. And I go, oh, they're both playing? And my mom goes, oh, no, this guy up here is playing for Vinnie. I mean, this guy Vinnie is playing for Ace. And I said, okay. And I didn't really have any anti-feelings about that. And, because the hopes are so high to wait 4 years to see him. And it was just unbelievable that 35 years later I could finally meet him face to face. And there was a lot of excitement and nervous energy. And I usually don't get that way anymore because I've met the other guys in KISS so many times. And in the conventions, people are wondering, well, why don't you just go see him? Well, in 96 and 97, I saw KISS over about 60 times. And if you're wondering how I got the money from that, a lot of people know Frank Caraglio, and I sold him over $6,000 worth of toys to do that, but only about $1,500 of my own money going out. So I'm the one who cashed in on that. 4 nights at the Garden, hanging out with Fat Vinnie and Russ and Mike and Bill May and Lydia Chris.
Bill May is one of my best friends.
Yeah, him and I used to talk every day.
Great
Bill,
guy. Great
it's
guy.
Jonathan. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. He helped us a lot with KISS Heaven. And, through him, when he was, really close with Lydia, that's how I became friends with her. And, she had flown out to see my KISS tribute band and yelled at us not to play Rock and Roll Night because we only had time for one more. So we had to play Watching You because she wanted to hear it. And, yeah, man.
Good for her.
Crab
Cool,
cakes, for her at Fisherman's Wharf. And, yeah, it was, there's been a lot of great memories and, family experiences. Now meeting you guys and, Jason, you and I are attached to the hip with Pat Lucero and
I agree, yeah.
With Neil. I mean, I don't like just talking to fans. I like being friends and at least cousins and turning into brothers because we do share all the same passionate feeling, in general with KISS.
I agree.
It's got to be deeply rooted and deep-hearted, and it all exploded last weekend with Vinnie because that was the last guy in KISS I needed/wanted to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm straight shooter. I didn't have a dad growing up, so KISS was a big thing in my years to believe in myself and not take shit from people.
Yeah.
So, it was, my mom was awesome and I actually had a really good upbringing, but subliminally looking back, knowing now, Gene, I didn't party because of him. And yeah,
Same here.
Same thing.
Yeah, awesome.
Baby, now that you made up your mind, I'm gonna let you go. If that's what it takes to show love is blind. I've given you the best love you ever had, but it wasn't enough. But if you think you're so smart, go and play with my heart. I won't stand in your way. Girl, in my mind, you're running away. 1,000,000 to 1, that's what it will be. 1,000,000 to 1, there's someone better than me. 1,000,000 to 1, no, you never will find. 1,000,000 to 1, another love like mine. Oh. voice. Thank you, guys. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Give it up for Vinnie Vincent!
People, it's hard for a lot of fans to be explicit of what it means inside, and to do something like I did with Vinnie Vincent and grab his hand and scream, "Come on, it's Vinnie Vincent!" I mean, people exploded like it was the end of the Super Bowl or something, because, you know, everybody was feeling it, that he finally came out and, you know, shared music in his life with us, and we want to be connected with him.
Now, did you have, when you were growing up, did you ever have that feeling of not understanding why some of your friends didn't love KISS? Because for me, when I discovered them before I discovered what music was. So I knew the Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters and X-Men were fake, but I knew that Gene actually spit blood and they actually descended from the Raptors in Houston 77. So for me, as a kid growing up, you know, 10, 11 years old, I didn't understand why my friends didn't love KISS, but they liked all that other stuff. Did you have like kind of the same thing with kids that were not fans and you were growing up?
Actually, it was different. I lived on Phillip Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia. That's where I grew up. And there were 6 homes, you know, like Tommy's house, Rich Hill, who was the guy who had all the KISS toys that we knew. You know, we had to make our Christmas list off him. A guy named Kevin and Tommy, Askey, another guy. And it was like a KISS street. So, you know, and yeah, I was. And but we liked KISS because they were real, where Superman wasn't. And we thought they were really the superheroes. And that's why it was so important to me to be able to tell them how much they meant to me in person. And, you know, start a fanzine with Frank and Tim called KISS Heaven, and to tell them how much they meant to me. And somehow, you know, in an easy way or a deep level, say, "I love you and thanks so much for being there in my life." You know, big.
I'm gonna shed a tear.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think we may say this isn't going to be the Atlanta wrap-up episode. We're just going to listen to Jonathan's stories, because I want to hear them all, man. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. This is good, great stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. Definitely don't be sorry. I mean, it's interesting to hear different stories and different views on how people grew up and why they loved KISS so much and what KISS meant to them. So for me, and I've said this on every KISS podcast I've ever been on, I hope that when people watch this, they're not ashamed to be a KISS fan. They're not ashamed to kind of do these things and collect the bootlegs or collect the T-shirts or go to conventions or whatever have you. So it's so cool to hear, you know, someone else's a view on that. What's really cool about you, Jonathan, is we've known each other through all of our mutual friends for many years. You know, I've known Bill for almost 20 years now. Well, it may be closer to 15. I've known Bill for 15 years, and I immediately always kind of looked up to him because he's older than I am. Jason is too. You are too. So when you get that connection to people through other people, you know, it's a great thing. I always was envious of other kids growing up, and even now I'm kind of envious of people growing up, how it's easy for them to connect with others. And it's like, oh, well, I like, I don't know, Machine Gun Kelly, or I like whatever band I like. And you could just easily meet someone in a bar on any Friday night that, oh, yeah, I like Lady Gaga, or I like this, or I like that.
Sure. Because it's current.
Yeah. But it was never like that for me. You know, some of my best friends, my 2 roommates, who are 2 of probably the greatest people I know, even then when we go out, they'll be talking and I'll be like, man, I've got nothing to add to this. I'm waiting to go home and listen to my Cow Palace, you know, red bootleg vinyl. You know, that's
it for the king.
Yeah. You know, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, just to, you know, expound on that a little bit with my story, and I know I've told it a dozen times on here, but Jonathan, I don't know if you've ever heard, but, you know, I'm from a very, very, very small town. And, you know I always say I'm from Nashville or whatever. I'm actually an hour and 45 minutes outside of Nashville. And so, you know, way out in the sticks in Tennessee, and, you know, went to a school that was K through 8, and there was literally 1,500 people in my town and no stoplight. And I'm still in that town, and there's still no stoplight in this town, you know.
Well, that's awesome.
So there was zero, not a single person that
Got you.
they didn't know. They didn't know about. Well, it wasn't that they didn't get me. It's an interesting conundrum, I guess, because everybody was friendly, but they always were kind of like, I can't believe you like that weird band or whatever, And I guess you've got a couple of years on me, because when I was lucky enough to tour January 30th, 1983 in Nashville, and I had just turned 7. So, and January 30th, 1983 is actually the 10th anniversary, so that was really cool. But I just turned 7, so you were 9 when you saw him in '79. So, but people, my friends, just had no clue. They didn't understand at all, and so there was nobody to talk to about KISS. Maybe my parents a little bit, because they were adults and they kind of understood, But the guy that I came down there with, and I know Andrew's like, Jesus Christ, let's stop talking about this guy. But, Danny Dabbs, this guy came from a similar small town, just as small as this one, but in the next county over. And he had maybe a friend that cared about KISS, but not that cared about KISS like we care about KISS. It's like, oh, yeah, cool, KISS, but this guy was collecting stuff. And what's odd is he's about 8 years older than me. I met him when I was 11 years old by a freak. Some friends of his grandparents lived behind me, and they heard me listening to.
He lifted up the cabbage leaf, and there was Jason.
Yeah,
there
right.
He was.
And their grandparents
In his underoos.
and they heard me listening to KISS over here. And it's like, oh, you got to meet this guy, Danny Dabbs, And I was like, he's the biggest KISS collector in the world, And he was 19 and I'm 11. And having that conversation, hey, Dad, I want to go over to this 19-year-old dude's house and look at his KISS toys.
Yeah, that's statutory.
It's weird, right? But, my dad carried me over there, and he went in and met Danny and met Danny's dad and everything. And I guess they felt comfortable enough. And I went into this shrine, which I have videotaped on my personal YouTube account.
Oh, dude, hook me up. Yeah.
Went into the shrine, and I had never seen anything like it. And he was a mentor to me. This guy, and he's my brother to today. We're still going to KISS Expos together. Andrew knows him. He bought a book for him.
Yeah, so. I was going to add that because when Lynn Goldsmith put out the KISS book, Danny was able to go and get a couple of copies signed by Lynn. So I messaged him, and I didn't even know him. I was like, hey, I'm friends with Jason, do the podcast with him. I was hoping you can maybe get Lynn to sign a book for me, because I couldn't go. And the New York date that Lynn was going to do had been canceled. So I reached out, I asked him, I go, sure, no problem. And he wanted to mail it to me. I go, don't worry. I was like, we'll hang out in Atlanta and bring it to me in Atlanta. So the very last thing that we did is we kind of exchanged it. And as I was waiting at the airport, I kind of opened up this box that he gave me the book in, and I didn't realize that he had it personalized. And I don't know why that meant so much more than just her signature, but the fact that he went up to Lynn and was like, hey, make sure you write to Andrew and then sign it. I thought that was the coolest thing, because if it was just signed, that might have been one of those things where, if I'd ever fallen on hard times, I might have sold it, but that is never leaving my collection, ever.
Yeah, because he thought of you, to make it special for you.
Yeah, and it totally is, and it definitely totally is.
What is your most disappointing thing that happened to you personally with KISS?
Disappointing thing that happened to me
personally? Yeah, whether it was
KISS?
Personally meeting them or at a concert or
You want us
something.
to answer this now?
Yeah.
Okay, I can anser that.
All right,
Are you saying something that was their fault, or just anything that was disappointing in general?
Yeah, whatever, that was the most disappointing thing, that happened to you because of KISS or, Gene Pauley's Peter, Vinnie, whoever.
Okay, I can answer that, and it's not an individual member thing. And I was actually just talking to my buddy Danny about this when we were driving down to the expo. I told you earlier that I saw KISS when I was 7 years old on the Creatures tour.
Amazing.
In January of '83. And I live in this small town, so it was hard to find out that kind of information, like who's playing, even though Nashville's just, a couple hours up the road, who's playing what and where. And I was young. I was in that. If I'd have been 2 or 3 years older, it would have made a big difference. But because I was like 7, and seeing KISS was then was kind of an accident. I happened to see a commercial on television, and I begged my dad to take me.
A promotion. Wow.
But because I didn't hear anything else about any other concerts, I did not see KISS again until the Hot in the Shade tour. So I missed all of those great tours: Lick It Up, Animalize, Asylum, Crazy Nights, and they all came to Nashville.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the most disappointing thing in my KISS history, I guess.
All right,
So.
Andrew.
Oh man. Okay, the only one I could think of, and this is one is probably really stupid, but I've never told anyone this story, so you guys are the first ones I'm going to tell this story to. No one knows this. Back when the farewell tour was happening and tickets went on sale, do you guys remember that VH1 ran a promo on their website to get pre-sale tickets early before they went on sale?
No clue.
All right, so back in 2000, this was a big deal, getting pre-sale tickets. I mean, I know it's quid pro quo today. It happens all the time today, but this was a big deal back then. So I took off school to get these tickets because this was the farewell tour. I was 14 years old, and I needed to get these tickets. Anyway, I don't know what happened, but I went to buy the tickets, and I guess my cookies and graphics were not loaded in Internet Explorer, and I didn't get tickets. I was beside myself.
Oh, first world problems, bro.
Listen,
Right.
I was beside myself. I was 14. I think I was calling my mom, and she was even worse than I was on the computer at that time, so she couldn't fix it. And I remember I kicked a hole in the wall, and my punishment was I had to fix the hole in the wall, which I did. But
Baby.
Oh, you put a drum head over it?
no, I did plaster and whatever. But I was just so disappointed that I couldn't that didn't happen for me. And I remember there was like I don't know, like a month or maybe 5 weeks of waiting to try to find tickets, because it was difficult to find tickets for the farewell tour at first, especially because I'm from New Jersey, especially in New Jersey, because they didn't come to Madison Square Garden on that farewell tour. So for them to come to the old Continental Airlines Arena, that was basically their hometown show, which they played 2 nights there. So I remember just the feeling. I was like 14 years old and depressed over that. So it may not sound like something, but when you're a kid, and that's like,
of course,
you know,
yeah. You're
first
fired
of all,
up.
I was a kid. It was literally all I looked forward to. I had no friends at this time, you know, and certainly no one I knew that liked KISS. So no one even understood, and that almost made it worse for me. But you know, there. So that's the one that came to the top of my head. I'm sure there are others. I'm sure there are other things that have happened that made me be disappointed for KISS, but that's the one that came to my head. So laugh all you want, but that's
Luckily, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people's stories are, oh, I met, you know, Paul or Gene or Ace or somebody, and they were assholes or something like that.
Well, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah. So luckily that's never happened to me. I assume it's happened to you, Jonathan. So let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So
listen to this
live
voice.
Yeah. So when Paul had his book out, he went serious. I live off of California Street, and the Jewish Community Center is literally like a mile and a half from my house, and I could have walked there. So during the book signing, there was a Q&A, and I stood up, and I finally was the second to last guy that asked him a question. I said, hey, you know, I noticed on the cover of Kiss Alive, you used the Firebird 1 for the photo, but I'm wondering, you know, 80% or 90% of the photos during that time, you're using your black and white Flying V, and I'm just wondering why you chose to use the Firebird 1 for the picture for the cover of Kiss Live instead of the Flying V, since that's the one you mainly used. And he goes, I don't know. And everybody started laughing, right? And he goes, I'm serious, I don't know. And he goes, you waited a long time to ask me that, didn't you? And I go, yeah. Because I'd been waiting to ask him that since, like, Hot in the Shade. You know, it was like my burning question. So I go, all right. So we get in line to meet him, and I go, gosh, I have VIP, you know, for the KISS concert coming up, you know, in 2000. What was that, with Def Leppard, I guess?
Yes, 2014.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's like 3 days for my birthday, and it was two days, I think, before the 20th anniversary of my first KISS tribute show. And so when I'm getting my book signed, I said, hey, Paul, I know it's a lot to ask, but I've got the VIP meet and greet to meet you in Concord, and I've been in a KISS tribute band that played with you at the KISS Convention 95, and 3 days to that date is the 20th anniversary of me ever playing a KISS song live, and it would mean so much to me also, it's by my birthday, if I could play Got to Choose with you on the acoustic jam, because that's the first song I ever played live, and it'd be great if you could do that since other people have been allowed to play with you. He said, oh, sure, it'd be great. And he stuck out his hand, and he goes, look, but remind me, I'm going to be busy. And he goes, it would be my honor. And I said, it'd be my pleasure. And I said, great, awesome, thanks a lot. And I'm like, trying not to well up, and I walked away. And I usually don't say anything on the internet until something happens, because things happen. Well, that night, you know, I'm going to play Got to Choose with KISS. You know, Paul Stanley confirmed it. I can't wait. This is more than a dream come true. It's 20 years of me being in a KISS tribute band, and I get to celebrate it with playing my first song with the real band. And everybody's, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm excited for you. And we get to the meet and greet, and the guys walk out. And then Paul goes, hey, you're that guy. You asked me that question about a guitar or something. What was it? It was so funny. And I didn't know the question. Yeah, he goes, tell it to Tommy and Eric. What was the question? I go, yeah, I asked you about the Firebird 1, why you used it for the cover of Kiss Alive instead of your Flying V. And he goes, yeah. And I go, I don't know. And everybody laughed, and I felt bad for him. I go, yeah. I said, but I found out the reason why you didn't have it in the photos because you actually didn't have the Flying V given to you yet from Gibson. You got it a few months later in Pittsburgh or Massachusetts or somewhere because all the photo sets. And some fan randomly posted, this is why, because he didn't have it yet. And he goes, oh, wow, I'm sorry I didn't know that, man. I go, no, it's all right. I didn't mean to stump the trump, you know, with you. And I said, I hope it's okay to still play Got to Choose with you tonight. He goes, and he just kind of walked away. And I was there with Alan Mooney. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. And Alan goes, yeah, maybe he forgot. And so they get ready and they play a couple songs. And there's only about maybe 15 of us who were there for the VIP. And the other 25 of them were like corporate people who the VIPs were bought as a gift. And they're just kind of happy to be there. And after 4 or 5 songs, hey, what do you want to hear? And there's dead silence. And I go, I wouldn't mind playing Got to Choose with you. He goes, oh, yeah, Got to Choose. How does that go? Yeah, well, how about this one? And he went into Love Her All I Can. And I go, okay, whatever. I'm still in the ball game. Later on, what do you want to hear? Nobody said anything. I said, how about Got to Choose or Hide Your Heart? God, you really want me to suck up my balls for Hide Your Heart? And he did it. And like they played one other song and it was ended. And then he puts his acoustic guitar down. I go, hey, Paul, you know, it doesn't have to be in front of everybody, but you said it was okay to play Got to Choose. You know, can we just play it together? And he goes, you know what? I lied. And he got right in my face like that.
Oh, my gosh.
And I looked at him, and I look at his, you know, up and down on his chin. And one of the ladies next to me goes, God, what a damn douche. And I go, like that. And I didn't want to say anything because I wanted to sign my Monster and Sonic Boom and stuff. And I go, like that. And he walked away. He goes, come on, I can't do this to the guys. You know, put him on the spot like that. And, dude, come on. Bill May, those 2 younger kids, the other guy that sang Dr. Love and another guy that played bass with Gene. I could have smoked them on how many people you said yeah with, and I didn't want to get into it, you know. And but if I would have happened like between 90 and 96, I would have been crushed, you know. But I just took it like a man. That lady said, what a douche. And I just sit there and laugh that he got his own medicine.
I can't believe that he got in your face like that.
Yeah, he leaned over and goes, I lied, like that. Or he goes, you know what? I lied. And so what I did is like when I took a photo with him and I told the story, I lied over his head and I posted on my Facebook. Yeah.
He sold millions of records, played to sold-out stadiums around the world, signed multi-million-dollar record deals, and then in 1996, he disappeared. Until now. Vinnie Vincent, live at the Atlanta KISS Expo, Saturday, January 20th, 2018. Signing autographs, taking photos, and answering the question everybody wants to know. Did Vinnie Vincent save KISS?
You're damn right I did.
Well, Jonathan, when did you first hear about the Atlanta Expo, and did you immediately know that you were going?
Oh, you're damn right I did. There were some other podcasts that just kind of came on the YouTube, and I think it was Julian's, I'm pretty sure. Somebody was talking about, or I heard online that he was going to come. I don't know. I have things in the background when I'm playing guitar at work. So, and I don't know how I heard. I just knew he was showing up. Maybe someone sent me a message, dude. Vinny's coming. Are you going to go? But
it was just like kind of pins and needles kind of stuff, because you had three sides, kind of peppering information out there, and then Derek shows up, and then there's this. There's these checkpoints that we're supposed to have, a letter and a video and all this stuff, and they all kind of keep getting delayed. And the big deal is Vinny gonna show up?
Yeah, it's like me. I don't get anxious like that, because I'll wait till it happens, and I'm not. Oh God, is he gonna show up? I don't get that way until he walks in the door, because then I know it's really going to happen, so I get excited.
I love you, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Wow. Thank you so much. God, with all my heart, I thank you all for being here. This is, it's good to be alive. It's good to be with you all, and I thank you with all my heart and all my soul for coming and for making me feel so much alive again, and I needed this. This is really wonderful. So one of those songs was Back on the Streets, and and I thought this really, I think this has it, And another one of those songs was I Need Love. But that was later changed to Shoot You Full of Love. So it was in the early stage, and there was a few others. So I had these demos, and I thought someone maybe will like this. Took them to all the record companies, and it was like, yeah, kid. Keep working on it, kid. You'll get there. So, it's always that discouraging thing. You know what you want? You go back home, you work on more. And I heard through, just like every other guitar player hears, that KISS was looking for a guitar player. And I just thought, well, that's for me. I know I'm right for that band, but that's too much, way too big. I mean, that's like the ultimate dream of the ultimate dreams, and for fate, entering my life in a very strange way. Back on the Streets found its way to Michael James Jackson, who was producing what was going to be Creatures of the Night album. Although at the time, he was working with KISS in the studio at the record plant, and KISS were looking for songs, and they were looking for a guitarist. But I didn't know any of this, other than there was a chance that I would be auditioning for the band. So one thing led to another, which was Michael heard Back on the Streets, and he said, I like this song so much. Let me give it to Gene and Paul and see what they say. And I remember waiting at home. I was literally looking at the telephone, Here's my number, And I'm just watching the phone, For days I'm watching the phone. And then he says, I remember getting this phone call, and he says, Vinny, this is Michael James Jackson. And I said, yeah, And the guys really loved the song, and we want you to come to the studio, and it was the record plant.
There's been so many times. I live in San Francisco, and I've met, you name any band I've met and hung out with, not just got an autograph in the street. And, got to say thanks to Frank Munoz for that. My old Kiss Heaven crony and Tim Healy and this guy Ron Quintana who named Metallica, and just, I mean, being in San Francisco, there's so many opportunities that are given to you just by going to a small club show or hanging out in the parking lot, seeing James Hetfield, drinking a beer across the street before a Danzig concert. Hey, what's up, Kiss guy, and stuff like that. I mean, just, Mother's Day, 92, walking into the Cow Palace, and I go, hey, Les Claypool. Actually, I said Les, but I'm clearing that for you, everybody. He plays he's for Primus. He plays the bass. And he goes, hey, Scooter. And the reason why is I found out he used to always see me on my skateboard downtown. So, just
funny.
Yeah, I mean, just random stuff like that,
Yeah,
and
funny.
so it just like people in LA, it happens here, except we don't boast about it all the time so much,
Right.
And
True.
we're just lucky, but it used to be a big small town and everybody knew each other, especially in the heavy metal thrash scene. It was a big decision. Sean Killian, who is the singer of Violence, he finally has his cousin, I believe, or his second cousin, is going to help him with his liver transplant. He's a perfect match. And I had to give up that benefit concert to meet Vinnie. And it was a tough decision because, I've been a fan of Sean for like 30 years. And we've been at weddings together and things like that. And it was my heart was torn, and I had to pick Vinnie. And, I still donated money for, his bills, but I'm glad that 2,000 people showed up because it was a strong outpouring of love like we had for Vinnie.
Right.
And getting to Vinnie also, I don't know if I said it before, but I think hearing his stories and having himself pick himself up from his anguish and fear and doldrums of the things that happened the last couple of days, I think he needed us more than we needed him, and he didn't know it until he came to the convention. And I think us going crazy just picked him up. And you couldn't have asked for a better KISS convention. Even though I haven't been to many, I don't think there have been that many that were that emotionally jolting.
From my personal standpoint, I've probably been to a couple of dozen expos in my life.
Same.
Yeah,
And,
especially where you guys live. That's good.
Right. They happen all over here all the time. And I was lucky enough to go to the 96 Atlanta convention and meet Vinnie then. And it was interesting to see the difference in his attitude. I remember leaving 96 thinking, man, this guy's an asshole, and I don't mean to bash Vinnie because I love Vinnie. I went to Atlanta in 96 as a huge fan, but, he was just saying, he was taking no responsibility at all for anything that had ever happened to him in his career, whether he should have or shouldn't have. It was everybody else's fault. I've got the DNA on videotape.
Yeah.
Everything was everybody else's fault, and including KISS, and including Mark Slaughter, and the whole, including Chrysalis, his record label, and the whole nine yards. And he just had nothing positive to say about hardly anybody. And the night and day between that Vinnie and the Vinnie that we got this past weekend was, you could tell he was a broken, humbled, gracious man that really had been through the shitter just probably about worse than almost anybody.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how the same kind of thing happened with Peter? You hear about these horror stories with Peter in the 90s and the conventions. And then you meet him now, and the guy's like, come here, give me a hug. And the guy doesn't let you leave his table until he gives you a hug.
Yeah, Peter was a straight-up ass. Every person that I ever knew that met him in 94 and in those years when he was touring with Chris and all that stuff, the friends of mine that met him here in Nashville said he was a jerk. But when you talk to people that meet Peter now, it's a completely different story. I don't know if that's age that does it to you, and it's probably part of it, but I was happy to hear a lot of those things that Vinnie was saying, where he was taking more responsibility. And sure, there were still some things in his view that were unfair to him, and I'm sure they were. I'm sure some were, and rightfully so, but he still said, you know, a lot of this stuff was my fault, you know, and I didn't know it then, but I know it now. And that it takes a big man, you know, to say those kinds of things.
Yeah, it does. To look at yourself in the mirror and accept responsibility for your mistakes. You know, that's how you grow as a human, no matter who you are. You know, like me, you know, I've been in my own KISS tribute band since 1993, and I wasn't a musician. You know, we actually started as a 5-piece where one guy just sang the Paul Stanley stuff because the rhythm guy wasn't comfortable singing. And I knew I wasn't good because I would see Bay Area bands, you know, and I knew what the level was of Alex Skolnick and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Marty Friedman, you know, watching all those guys, you know, even Racer X. So, you know, me trying to play Breaking the Law and then playing Deuce, you know, it was the same deal. It was okay. And my point was, as far as knowing where I am and not pretending where I think I am, is that I was a KISS fan playing KISS music. I wasn't a musician playing KISS music.
Right, sure.
And I knew I had a long way to go, and I was working very hard at it, and I've always been humble and lucky of all the gracious things that have happened with our band. And everybody who's been in my band was so happy, and it was always like a friendship, you know.
Someone has taken your love, it's true, isn't it? It's not just talk that I hear. And when I see him build his wall around you, I know the end is near. You tell me that it's wrong, and it's all in my mind. You know all along, and it just makes my blood.
Man, you know, I was jacked up, you know, seeing you and Andrew too. I mean, it was great. Lassie and
it was fun.
Aryan. I mean, all those people. You guys mean something to me because I know now I can share something with you, and like you said, not have a filter and come out, you know, as a KISS fan and show your feelings. I mean, you know, San Francisco is all about being open, no matter what your preference is. You know, I mean, everything's open to do what you want, and people are pretty accepting. And you know, I wish it would eventually spread out more, but everybody has to do what they want to do without hurting other people to do that.
I definitely agree with you there. I definitely agree with you there. So take us back to when you first walk in. Now, did you go Friday to the meet and greet? Did you only attend Saturday?
I wanted to, but I was going to save some money, and I just went Saturday. But I walked up with my friend, actually, who bought the VIP. His name's Lewis. And
I'm noticing a trend with you, kind of always following around your friends that have purchased something, and then you're just kind of there. Hey guys, I'm here.
Yeah, well, I was asked straight up out of the blue to be a guest at the Gene Simmons Vault Experience. That wasn't me trying to schmooze.
I'm just thinking. I'm just making humor of the situation.
I know, me too. But you know, boy, did I gobble it up.
Amen, brother.
Thanks, Julian. And I got to tell you, Julian Gill, Mr. Online. You know, Mr. Famous KISS FAQ, and you know what, 36 books now or whatever, brother. He only lives about 200 yards from me.
That's so cool.
And it's insane. And he's lived here since 1988. And when we started talking, I go, man, you lived here that long, and we never see my KISS tribute band. I never heard of it. You know, we're playing, you know, small halls with like 500 people, and oh yeah, I never heard of you. And by chance, one day he was getting a drink at this corner store. We're playing this Noriega Street Fair, and there's like 5,000 people watching us. And like, you know, unused diapers are flying in the air, and there's 2 pits happening during Parasite and all this stuff, and it was insanity. Beer bottles flying, and wow, you guys are pretty awesome, dude. So that was a good way to look like a rock star in front of a published,
he was
Yoda.
He was the first guy. Oh no, I take that back. Nils, the guy who who worked with Julian on his last book. I met him first, but then I kind of saw Julian walk in. He had beer in hand, and he was just like, "Man, it's so good to finally meet you." Because the same thing with Jason too. We've all talked, online through this or through Facebook for years. And I was really glad that everybody kind of decided that they were going to go to this thing, and it was more about all of us kind of hanging out than it was about Vinnie. And that's not to downplay Vinnie at all, because I definitely don't want to do that. It could have been any guest, and I think some of us would have went. The reason why it did so well and did so internationally well and brought over people from Switzerland, Sweden, all that was because they wanted to see Vinnie. So You didn't go Saturday. You didn't go Friday. You walk in the door Saturday. What was your first thoughts? I mean, I know you haven't been to a lot of conventions, but what was your first thoughts when you first walk in and saw all these cool dealers and whatever have you?
All right. Well, Friday I was in the parking lot right to the right, so I was like 30 feet away from the room, and I didn't want to sneak in. I didn't want to play anything with Derek. He's got enough to worry about. But the guy Lewis I went with, he actually, had the whole thing live. So I have to tell you, I mean, my face was a wrinkled mess from tears. I mean, honestly, 40 minutes of that, hour and 10 minutes or whatever. I mean, I didn't expect Vinny to be so intense and honest, brutally honest about what had been going on in his life. And I was so happy that he was reaching out. I studied psychology, and like he said, he cleansed himself, and he kind of needed to do that. And, he hasn't had any chances or made a chance to, clear his name online, and for him to publicly do it instead of just do something like that. And, his appearance has changed, over the years. And
everybody's appearance has changed.
Yeah, me too, Look at my set, but
we're all headed that way.
Keep dying it. And but it's just I couldn't believe the overwhelming. I think by saying this, he wanted acceptance and to get it off his chest, and I regretted not getting the VIP.
Me too.
And that's my fault. But I'm so glad that I was there. Because the next day, I'm glad he pretty much reiterated everything, and added a few more things, because I got to experience the same thing, but luckily I was ready for it, or else they probably would have carried me out in an ambulance or something,
Right. I thought it was interesting, he did those Q&As all 3 days, and maybe we should say to the people that might not have completely understood how this all went down, there was it was a 3-day event. There was a Friday VIP that cost you $289. And they sold it. They were supposed to only sell it to 100 people. I think there's, people are estimating they might have sold 150 of them or something like that. But they sold VIPs for Friday and Sunday, and then the regular convention was on Saturday. And Vinny did Q&As all 3 days. And even though there were some things, I watched them all, just like you, Jonathan. Me and Danny were driving down from Tennessee while it was going on, and I was watching them live on my phone. And, so I was
God,
Oh
just.
no time to turn as he's watching the thing.
I wasn't driving. Danny was
I
driving.
got to laugh.
And,
Jason's gonna die.
And he don't care.
Vinny, why?
So, I was blown away at the things he was saying. And I'd listen to the interview at, the first. I was listening to Sirius, and then I switched right over to the live feed. And, I thought it was interesting that he did Q&A all 3 days, and the Q&A on Saturday was 2 hours long with his performance. And, he touched on, even though he touched on a lot of the same things, he touched on many different things as well. And I just today watched the Q&A from Sunday, and it was just, I was blown away by some of the things he was saying. And how emotional he had gotten on Sunday. He was, he had cried multiple times about, that this is just, basically saying all of these people saved him. He had no idea that anybody would show up, or said he had no idea that anybody would show up. and he was just shocked that it was going like it was going.
The room was completely full.
Yeah.
You could almost not get another person in there with a shoehorn.
Oh God!
And it was a huge room.
It was. There was 1,000 people there for sure.
What was funny about that is I remember when it was kind of coming time for when it was time to do his Q&A, and just like any expo, any baseball game, any football game, it ran a little late. So the room started kind of filling up, and I was tearing down my display. I had worked for the UD Replicas booth, so I was tearing down costumes and stuff.
Which was excellent.
And I remember I'm putting costumes away and doing stuff, and I look, and all of a sudden the room was full, and I'm like, oh, he's doing a Q&A? Because I didn't know. I thought that because everything had run so late, there were other things that were happening. I just thought that he was going to continue and meet with the paid ticket holders.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on at 4, and I think he came on at 6 or something like that, or
something like that. Yeah, something like that. And again, it was fine. I mean, things happen. Things run later or early or whatever have you. So I didn't think it was going to happen, and I just remember when he walked in, the whole room erupted, and I'm like, what's going on? So I stood up on my chair and I watched quite a bit of the Q&A, and unfortunately I hate that this happened. I was busy. I had things that I had to do, so I didn't see all of it. I saw most of it. I saw his acoustic set. I saw Robert Fleischman come up on stage and sing with him, so I thought that was cool. But there were so many things going on throughout the day. There was a lot of fluidity with the people coming in and out of the room. But when they were on stage, everyone was just, all the tension was right on stage, and I thought that was so cool, especially for him.
Well, go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing.
Okay.
It's too bad, Andrew, that you had to run around and help the UD Replica guys, which are awesome. Everybody has to check out their costumes. You will not believe it. I was blown away, and been wearing Paul Stanley costumes for 25 years now.
That probably came out of a bag.
Yeah, so now I made it myself, so I know how difficult it is.
That's even cooler.
Yeah, I mean, before online, you had to do everything yourself.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Well, I just want to, speak.
I lied. Eric, James, my original Gene Simmons, and I made all the costumes. Excuse me.
There you go.
So in the early days. Now, of course, people just go shopping. But I think you would have appreciated Vinny's scratchy voice, Andrew, because you and I were at odds a little bit. Not really, just a friendship, banter. But I think you've actually had time and sat and listened to Vinny's whole and got absorbed in his Q&A. You would have understand how much more it meant to everybody and him to just sit there and squeak through those songs.
Yeah,
remember the guy is 65 years old and hasn't been on stage in 30 years
and is not a vocalist.
Yeah. I mean, he can hear. He thinks he isn't a vocalist, but I mean, serious. I mean,
I'm just saying that's not his trade. He's a guitar player. He was never a lead singer or frontman. So
and signing well over 2,000 autographs and photos and chatting and being nervous and having to get dressed up and it for him to do that after that was way beyond. I was beyond happy for him just to show up and say everything, and then for him to squeak the guitar and play 4 tunes and have
I didn't think there was any way that he would have played.
No,
I didn't expect him to play either.
Taken off guard.
Yeah. And it's pretty heavy, but my friend Lewis, he's been through a lot like Vinny has, and this guy isn't even 30 years old yet. And for him to experience that and to be there, and for me, his best KISS friend, to share that with him was a big confidence and a relief thing that, he can get through things in life because Vinnie Vincent can. And, and he told me, I said, I'm so glad I was there with you. I wouldn't have been there with anybody else. And I said, you too, man. I mean, he loves Vinny as much as us. And, he's not a young kid, but, he loves that man as much as we do. Yeah. It doesn't matter how old you are.
No, I agree. Now, throw all the eggs you want at me. I unfortunately didn't get to meet Vinny. I didn't. I didn't purchase a ticket, obviously. I was just busy, throughout the day. Busy talking to you guys, just busy doing things, busy enjoying other things.
Me and Jonathan were busy standing in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting in line.
And based on my schedule, I couldn't do that. Not because I didn't want to. I couldn't stand in line for 3 hours. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
well, let's talk about, or I want to talk about a little bit, and y'all can jump in. I want to talk about, just the simple logistics of the expo. I don't want to make it sound like the expo was all, rainbows and daisies and all this stuff, because gumdrops and all that stuff.
It wasn't. It was French fries and salad and
that's whatever it is. But
okay, I know where you're going with this, because here's the first thing. Here's my first bitch session. Here I'm gonna hand out some what do they call it during festivals? I'm gonna hand out some grievances. You had a hotel that was sold out.
Hold on, back up. Let Jason start it because he brought the subject up.
Okay.
Oh, bam! No, you could no. Go.
No, because I don't think you got to experience this though, because I got to experience it 2 times.
Go ahead. Yeah,
the one restaurant downstairs, completely understaffed, just completely shocked that there were people there. And I asked them, I said, "Did you guys know that this was happening?" They said, "Yes." And not only is this happening, the hotel is also sold out. I was like, "Well, why is nobody here?" "Oh, we didn't think about that."
Yeah. That I didn't get to experience Friday night. I got to experience it Saturday. So.
I experienced it Friday night and 2 times on Saturday.
But I just want to speak to the expo itself, because like I said, I've been to a couple of dozen of these things. Some have been ran very well, some have not been ran very well, some mediocre. The one thing that I want to complain about, and then I'm sure that everybody on every podcast that's doing this is complaining about, is the line situation. No one can ever seem to get it right. At one point in time, when I decided to go get in line Saturday to get my autographs, you had to purchase autograph tickets. And then if you wanted a photo, you had to purchase a photo ticket. And when you went, if you wanted 3 autographs, you purchased 3 autograph tickets. And when you went through the door, the guy took your tickets and ripped off the bottoms of them, and you took your 3 items, and then, you got your autographs. So I'm standing in line with my good friend Joe Lalich, and we're in the back of this line down this hallway, which is probably a good football field from.
You were in the next zip code. I know.
We were way down the line, and it wasn't moving, and so we stood there for about an hour and a half, and we moved about 30 feet.
That's
and
right.
Then some guy comes back and says, "All right, guys, Vinny's going to do photos now. Yep. Everyone who has a photo pass," and we're seriously, we're in a hall that's probably 6 feet wide, maybe. And, there's a line of people in it. And they said, everybody that's getting a photo now get into this line on the left-hand side. And essentially everybody went, boop. It was the same fucking line, So it's so, and he said, and have your friend hold your spot for you in the autograph line so you can get back in it. Well, of course, you stand there and the line's still not moving. So the line situation was a clusterfuck. And I don't know, I haven't thought through the logistics, but I was talking to a few of the people there, and I don't understand all these conventions. I don't know why they just don't give everybody a number, 1 through 1,000 or whatever it is, and don't make anybody stand in line. Let everybody go mill around and say, all right, we need numbers 1 through 20. Come up here and we'll get your autographs. And then when they're done, call 20 through 40 up.
I'm going to jump in there, because that's exactly what Steve and I did at the Indie Expo last year for Eric. It's exactly what we did. It's exactly what we did. We lined up people 20 at a time, and they went through the room. And then when they were done, I called the next 10 or the next 20, and people didn't wait online all day. They were still allowed to enjoy everything else.
All right, that was the big thing, because we had a table there. KISS My Kollectibles had a table. Tom Shannon had a table, and Julian Gill was beside us, and Aaron was beside us, and we all had our stuff set up. And the only people for the first 3 hours of the convention that were in there was the people from Friday night that had the VIP passes that didn't need to go stand in line on Saturday because they had already met Vinny. So it looked very sparse. And I was like, what's going on? And everybody was standing in the damn line. And, that was frustrating. But,
okay.
All
right,
short of that.
I didn't get to experience that.
Okay, well, I had the pink pass, which got you in, early to the autograph line. But the problem is, it wasn't really Derek's fault or security. People got up and started getting in line between 7:30 and 8 a.m. in line for autographs.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fans who did that were kind of backing up for the people who were supposed to have, first dibs like me. Supposed to be, getting autographs an hour before everyone.
Well, one of the biggest issues was,
and also I'm pretty sure the photograph got changed in the middle of the autograph because Vinny wants to take a break from signing.
Well, that was how the schedule was.
Things.
He was supposed to sign for 2 hours, take photos for like 30 minutes or an hour or something like that, and then sign for another 2 hours and then photos. The problem was the initial line. They brought everybody in and then they made them check in, and then after they checked them in, they sent them to another line where they had to wait just as long to get autographs. And it was a giant clusterfuck. It was not done well at all.
So, but to remedy that problem, you think when they check in, that's when they should get their autographs and everything set up?
I think that
at the same time.
Yes, I think it all should be done at the same time, and I think it should be done 20 people at a time and let everybody else into the convention and go to the stage, make an announcement, and say we need the next 20 people.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard with 1,000 people, and that's the thing. There was only Vinny signing, not like 3 or 4 guys in a band. So,
no, I know that.
No. I think what should have happened is I think they should have checked in one time, and when you checked in, if you were the purple or the pink or whatever you had, you got a number. And then based on the number, they would say, okay, Vinny is now signing 1 through 15. Then once 1 through 15 is gone, okay, same, gold,
right. That's what I think.
Yeah, 16 through 20.
But anyway, who knows?
Yeah.
So that's my one gripe about it. That being said, as I've said, I've been to a couple of dozen of these things, and I would rank it up in probably the top 3 best expos I've ever been to.
Yeah.
As far as the guest experience. Everybody knows that lately the conventions have not been, dealer heavy with vintage merchandise because everybody sells that stuff online now. eBay killed the expo basically as far as vintage stuff goes, but there were a ton of dealers there with a ton of great vintage merchandise, and all the podcasts were there, and there were a ton of other special guests. Bob Kulick was there, and Ken Kelly, and
Ron Keel.
Ron Keel was there.
Big John Hart.
John Hart was there. I mean, there was a lot of cool people to mule around and talk to while you waited on Vinny. And I just think it. And what was so cool to me, Andrew's already talked about it before, was just this is the first expo I've been to where there were so many of my online KISS family.
Oh, yeah.
Was at the same place. It's never been like, I've gone to Indy and there may be 2 or 3 people, Tom and, and a few other people. But this is the biggest one where I'm like, Jesus, it's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
This was the Council of the Elder meeting. Yeah.
It was.
That's why when I saw you guys, in your group saying you're going and all that, I was thinking, man, I'm going to go just because everybody's going to go.
Yeah.
If Vinny doesn't show up, man, I'm still stoked. I'll be upset, but it's not the end of the world.
Oh,
and
it would have been like the rip and destroy scene at Phantom of the Park if Vinny didn't show up.
Do you want to hear a crazy story about using that line?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, a lot of people in the Bay Area know me as the KISS guy easily, and all that. Even Lady of Chris will say, I'm the biggest KISS fan of San Francisco. But Ace played on a Sunday night at this place called the Trocadero in 93 or 94. And he always was scheduled to go on every night at 11:45. And I used to drive him to shows, and I knew that. And sometimes he'd be late 'cause he'd, be in his robe and have an ice bucket. And Richie and I would be sitting there, having a conversation, having him walk by. But anyways, This particular night, I guess the Trocadero didn't tell Ace Frehley that they have a time limit. They have to be off at 12 midnight because of the sound. People in the neighborhood were complaining about the noise factor. So the 2 opening bands were done by 9 o'clock. And this place is only one room, like the convention. There's like maybe 500 people there to see Ace. So what do you do in the same room for 2 hours and 45 minutes? People were complaining and thought that Ace was, like not really booked. They want their money back. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He'll be here. And he showed up on time, 11:45, and he starts playing till about 12:20. And right at the Parasite riff, then it goes into the boom boom bum boom boom bum boom boom bum. That part, the cops tell him to cut it, and he goes, "Hey, they cut me off here. I gotta go. They're not letting me play the rest of my set. Sorry, guys." And he leaves, and the whole crowd starts going, "Rip and destroy, rip and destroy." But we're laughing about it and kind of elbowing because we know. And this is my fault, my big mouth. That was the night there was a sniper about a month before that had shot a policeman down, and they had his funeral procession over the Golden Gate Bridge that day. And me being a dumb punk, I said, "Yeah, let's go shoot another cop. Hey, let's go shoot another cop." And I was joking just to make a laugh out of it because I knew that everybody was upset, and I just kind of wanted everybody just to kind of have a laugh and me, in a dumb way, diffuse the situation. And I saw everybody looking like behind me, and I go, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Oh shit." And I turned around. It was like the Red Sea had parted. And the next thing you know, my hands are behind my back.
Oh my god!
and they put me in the loony van out front, and I was so nervous. And my girlfriend was there. That guy Eric James, my original Gene Simmons, who made the costumes, was there. His girlfriend was there, and everyone's all, "This guy's drunk. If you want to be an example like him, just step up. Just leave if you don't want to be with him." And he didn't even drink. He's not drunk. Blah 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 blah. And I didn't want to scream or say anything because it just make matters worse. So I guess like 10 or 15 minutes, seemed like forever. I'm in back to this van, and they pull off, and they make a sharp right-hand turn, and they screech on the brakes, and I fall on the ground. I go, "Oh my God, I'm in the alley at the Trocadero. I'm going to get my butt whooped," right? And I hear all this rough and scumble and smashing against the van. And they put this other guy who would jumped in front of the cops at the red light, as they were turning to try to get hit by him. And so they put him in next to me, and we go to the big police station is 850 Bryant. And then cops said, "Look, I don't care if you're drunk or not, but you could have incited a riot, but to what you were saying." And of course, the KISS fan would have said, "Yeah, but you don't understand that Rip and Destroy is like from the KISS Meets the Phantom movie." To be a man about it was, "Look, I'm sorry. That was the most poorest thing in taste that I said. I was a jerk. I don't care if you arrest me, and I just want to apologize to you because that was, very rude." And he said, the more quiet you are, the faster you get out. We're not going to arrest you, but we had to make an example of you. So 20 minutes later, the lady made me walk the line. I said, "Here, watch." And I turned around and I did the Michael Jackson, the moon dance or whatever. And she goes, "Look, get out of here." And the cops try not to laugh because there's like guys on acid and speed all tied up to the poles and stuff. And I'm sitting there making jokes. So I was supposed to meet Ace and Richie to meet Richie's wife. And so I get to the lobby, and Richie answers the phone. "Hey, John, I heard you're in fucking jail. Do you need some money?" I go, "No, dude, I got out. I'm in the lobby. Are we still going to hang out?" "Oh, you okay? You don't need to get paid?" I go, "No, dude, I'm in the lobby. Aren't we going to hang out?" "No, man, I'm going to bed. My wife's here. I'll see you tomorrow in San Rafael." And I hang up the phone. But the problem is, this is like 2:30 in the morning, and like the buses are like every hour, and I'm in the middle of, Sunday night, waiting. So, yeah. And then Ace goes, "I heard you got arrested. Tell me about it." After sound check, listen to my story. And he goes, "You know what? I've been in jail. It fucking sucks, doesn't it?" And I'm all, "Yeah." And I just kind of played it off because, I was there for like 15 minutes at tops. So Yeah.
I can
another
just
crazy
imagine Ace
story.
go, so, I heard you were in jail.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yep. He did. He smacked my knee and he leaned back and put his arms around me.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guys want you to come to New York and play another guitar solo for Keep Me Coming. I said, wow, really? You know, I said, really? So yeah, we want you back. So come on back. So here's a ticket. Get on plane. I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. Okay. And not knowing what was about to happen, I got to New York, and I remember Eric met me at the airport and took me to the hotel. I checked in, went right to the recording studio, and started to, hear the song. And I think about a day later, the solo was born. It was finished, and everybody seemed really happy. So I get, thanks, Vin. It was really good. I think we really had a great track, and everybody's really happy. And good luck. I said, "Oh, really? Really? You sure? Yeah. Good luck. Eric will take you to the airport." So I said, "Well, thanks a lot. All my best." And this was like the greatest experience of my life. Do you remember in this the way I told it yesterday?
What I remember is the phone call that you got.
The phone call.
That got everybody choked up.
Well, the phone call was that Eric took me to the airport to go home. And I said, "Well, thanks a lot, Eric. This was like such a great time, and I'll never forget it." So I'm walking on the airport. I'm walking onto the plane to board the plane, and I just look back. I remember I see him. He goes, Vinnie, don't get on the plane." I'm like, what? Come on back. So, I come back, and the way I remember it was, he says, "Gene wants to talk to you." So Gene says to me, "Listen, we want you to stick around here. We want to have we want to play live. We want you to play in the rehearsal studio with us and see how it goes." And I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, we'll put you up for a couple of days and let's rehearse at SIR." And I said, "Oh, wow. Okay, great. Wow. So we rehearsed for a couple of days, and I thought, gee, this is sounding so great. And then he says, "Well, thanks, Vin. We'll call you. Don't worry. We'll see what happens, and we're going to rehearse. We're going to audition some other guitar players." So I said, "Oh, wow. Okay, thanks. I had a great time. Thanks so much. I'll never forget this. So Eric will take you to the airport." So, get in the car with Eric, and he takes me to the airport. He says, "Don't worry, Vin. Everything will be all right. Okay." I said, "Yeah, well, all right. Okay." Well, I said, "You have my number. You know where to call me, right?" Yeah, we'll call. So I'm getting back. I go back to Los Angeles and go back to my apartment. Now I'm there. Now I'm really, I don't know what to think. So most of me had thought, God, I wrote these songs. We got the magic, But then Gene says I'm too short and it's not going to work. So then we rehearse. And I thought, this is all going so well. And then I get the call again. One more call. I'll never forget this. And I think it was Gene. It was Gene. He said, "Vin, we want you to join the band."
Remember the KISS logo that was yellow with the pink smoke background, the first album cover?
Yeah.
I own that negative from that guy. That was the only one that didn't leak out when they had all the 8x10s coming out.
Yep.
And Frank and Tim couldn't come up with an idea for a T-shirt. And he goes, "Look, we need your help." And I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, well, we've been working on the KISS conventions the last couple of months, and we need your help." I'm like, "What? Huh?" And they kind of like left me out of it, and whatever, but I just felt kind of let down as a friend. True. And so here I am with like Tony Bon Jovi. That guy is related to John Bon Jovi somehow, and all this stuff. And we're like in this big fucking executive room. And I pulled out these couple things, and I was waiting for my trump card. And I said, look, well, why don't we do this? Use my Destroy Your Tour book, scan the yellow logo with the pink, because the black shirt will really set good contrast, and use this, as a T-shirt. And everybody's kind of like rubbing their knuckles. Oh my God, man, you really pulled this one out, Jonathan. Well, and then this is where it goes wrong. The guy goes, yeah, we'll definitely talk about compensation soon, Jonathan. We have another meeting to go to, but we need to keep in touch. And Frank leans over, oh no, we'll take care of him. It's all right. Right. And I found out that they were making about $3,000 a month, Tim and Frank, each for 3 months from Sony Signatures to get paid to do all this shit. And I didn't know. I was hoping maybe like $500 or $600, maybe $1,000 for that T-shirt. Mm-hmm. And then I remember this other guy named Frank made those two ugly KISS shirts. The one with the fork in the guy's head.
Oh yeah.
And the one with the
dog. The dog.
Yeah, the Monopoly dude with the monocle, right?
Yeah.
And I said, hey man, I'm designing a shirt for KISS. How much did you make for your two shirts? He goes, oh dude, I got $5,500. And I'm like, for two? He goes, yeah. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, oh dude, you should ask for money. And I kept calling, and they said, yeah, Frank said he's taking care of you. I said, okay. And I kept asking Frank. And then, the convention passed, and I didn't get paid or nothing. And then I forgot that I didn't get my negative back or my tour book. So, and I tried to walk in, and they were avoiding my phone calls. So I had to sneak in, and I forced Tony to pull out the negative and the tour book. He's all, a negative's worthless, man. I copywrote that since you don't have copyrights.
Oh, God.
So the other great thing that happened at this Atlanta KISS convention, and this actually happened at an expo maybe 10, 15 years ago, where the authors of KISS Alive Forever, they debuted some unseen KISS footage. Now, Jason, I know you were in line when it happened. Did you get to see it at the table later on?
Yeah, because somebody luckily filmed it on their phone and posted it on YouTube. So...
So what'd you guys think of that? What'd you guys think of that footage? Do you think that there's more footage out there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more out there.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. One of my favorite parts, and you guys know I'm a big bootleg guy, one of my favorite parts was not even a piece of footage with KISS in it. It was them talking about the Casablanca party, the launch party, February of '74. That was cool to see that, and to see more footage from the Palladium was cool.
Palladium
as hell.
Footage was cool.
Was really cool as hell. So I love when expos do stuff like that. I love when it's not just, well, here's the Q&A and here's this and here's the costume contest. I love when there's other cool things like that, because there's so many cool things to like about KISS, and to only limit yourself to one thing is you're missing out. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it's good to see those things. There's a lot of research, and there's a lot of stink made about those videos.
Yeah, there is. So what else? What else happened at the convention that we want to talk about, or?
Arjen Alchemeda, excuse me if I didn't say your name right. He hunted me down when I was with Mr. Japan, Alan Balekia. Excuse me if I screwed that.
Balecia.
Thank you. I have to tell you, Alan, you're a great drummer, and I can't wait to jam with you again in Tokyo next month if we have time. He's got awesome drum rolls, and it was great. We played KISS for 3 hours. But anyways, he forced me to get in a cab to meet Arjen at the Shinjuku Hard Rock Cafe. And it was just like being at a convention, because, we're kind of in the big leagues of, KISS collecting and stuff. Sure. And it was great. And so to see him again, it was like seeing your brother again. That's why it was an unholy meeting. And
I sat beside Arjen most of the day because Tom bought 3 tables, and Tom had his stuff, and we had the collectibles table, and Arjen had the table right beside me, between me and Julian. And so we cut up all day long. He brought some amazing stuff that he wasn't selling. He brought a bunch of cool stuff to sell, but he brought he had 3 Vinnie stage worn shirts.
That's right.
Yeah, I saw those. Cool.
So cool. Yeah. And
wait, did he purchase the third one there? Because the guy that I was staying with, Martin Alvarez, brought a shirt and then sold it.
He may have.
Day.
I didn't hear about that, but he had them there, and they were displayed on little bus behind us. And he also brought these, what seemed to be kind of newly discovered, but I don't know. But these Peruvian promos, vinyl promos that he hung up behind us that wasn't for sale. Super cool stuff. I mean, he's got over 1,500 pieces of vinyl in his KISS vinyl collection. So cool. It's really
I used to have about 12 or 1,300, but I really got into the autographs, and when all the Fat Vinnie stuff like leaked out from the autographs, I traded a lot of my some of my 70s stuff, my 80s and 90s stuff. I traded to get autograph stuff, and I just got into
Gotcha.
That. Yeah, and that Ross Radley guy, his book, some's like, hopefully it'll get out sometime soon, because that was all right.
I was talking to him a bit because him and I are going to do some work together. He said that pre-orders begin in July, and then the book should be available to ship in November.
Yeah. I
hope I got those dates right. If I didn't, Ross, yell at me. But I'm pretty sure that's what he told me. And he made a post on KISS FAQ about it as well. But it looks so cool. And hopefully my check is in the mail with this, because I wrote his line for his book. Because he doesn't want to use KISS images or can't use the KISS logo. So I said, here's the line for your book. We're gonna make it look like Talisman, and your tagline is, without them, the photos, no powers.
That's right.
So
you came up with that?
I came up with that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I came up with that.
See what happens when we get old, Jason? Our minds aren't as bright, so we need these young kids to, pick up the slack.
It's not that I'm surprised that Andrew came up with that. It's that I talk to Andrew more than any other person I talk to in the KISS community. I talk to Andrew literally hundreds of times a day, every day for the past 2 years, and he's never told me that.
Well, I just came up with it.
Especially when it's just listening to Andrew. I love you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jason has the unfortunate responsibility to talking with me every day, because I'm so passionate about this that I'm throwing 90 ideas at him, and Jason's like, "Fuck, I've been away for a day. There's 15 messages." And I'm like, "Oh wait, look at this squirrel!" And check. Oh my god, check. And just because
every day,
because I get these ideas, and more times than not, I just need to put them down in just a forum just to say yay or nay, because not all of them are good. Some of them are really crappy ideas, but it's half the fun for me of doing this is talking about ideas and things that we can do.
That's how brilliant things come out.
Yeah.
A personal thing too. There's a guy named Ron, and I think his name was Andy or Andrew, his friend. They had a table right when you walked into the left next to Joe Marshall's photos. Those guys are from Virginia, and one guy was actually from Norfolk and Virginia Beach, and it was cool to see some homeboys that saw KISS concerts that I did at the same place.
Right. So did you see the Rock the Nation show, Virginia Beach, July 25th, 2004?
No, after the Creatures and Lick It Up shows, I moved out to San Francisco. My mom got a better job offer. And so it's funny, before Kurt's book, I used to tell everybody, I missed Animalized because they hadn't come to Virginia yet. And I missed the one in San Francisco because he already played. But studying his book, they never came to Hampton or Norfolk on the tour at all. So I would have missed him anyways. And actually, honest, Asylum, I love the album, but I couldn't stand their look, and I didn't go to the tour.
So you missed getting to see the big 40-foot logo. I would have loved to have seen that logo live.
No, I saw it during Crazy Nights when at least they.
Crazy Nights, yeah, cool, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that kind of it was cool because, from Lick It Up to Crazy Nights, there's a lot of stuff. I moved, and I was with this girl for 2.5 years, and that was my first girlfriend. She was my best friend, so I was homesick and heartbroken when I moved out here.
Yeah,
and not seeing KISS till Crazy Nights was like, God, it was like a homecoming, and I was still collecting stuff, and I caught one of Paul's pics, and it was kind of like him saying, "Hey, I'm still glad you're in the KISS Army." To me, just those fake dream sequences. Wow, man,
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how back then you say, "Oh, I didn't see KISS for 4 years," and that was like a long time. Now it's people are like, "Oh, I haven't seen KISS for 2 years. It's time to see them again." Like the time that we thought was long back then is almost the norm as to what it is now. KISS was putting out albums every year back then. bands don't do that anymore. Bands put out one album every 4 years. You know,
if they put them out at all.
If they put them out at all. So when someone says, "Oh, you know, I haven't seen KISS in 11 years," back then it was like, "Oh my God, it was a long time." Now it's totally different. And the way I think about that is, it's been 18 years since the farewell tour. 18 years since the farewell tour. Think about that time. It was 17 years when Peter left to when he rejoined, and look at all that history that happened in between there, and then look at all the history that's happened between the farewell tour and now. So since we're recording this a couple days after the Atlanta convention, a couple things have happened. There's rumors that there's going to be a Nashville convention sometime this summer, and also just last night a 20th anniversary Indianapolis KISS convention has been announced for May 12th and 13th. So
Correct.
Hopefully there will be other times where we could all be in the same room together. No guests are announced. We don't know anything, so don't ask us.
You better get your ass to Nashville, brother.
Well, the Nashville thing, you know,
In
Derek
April,
said himself. Derek said that he's trying to get Vinnie and Robert to do an Invasion reunion at the Nashville convention. He's working on it. He's working on it. Who knows if it'll happen? But you know, if he scores that would be great for Vinnie fans to get to see him so soon after this. And then there's also. I don't want to call it firm because you never can, but Vinnie has confirmed that he's doing the Gene Simmons Vault experience in Nashville on the 14th of April, right?
Yeah, April 14th is the Vault experience in Nashville. It's an expensive year for KISS fans because there's a lot of things going on.
It's very expensive. A lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, Jason and I were also
I'm going to do a guest appearance.
You're going to do a guest appearance. Jason and I were talking the other night, too, about some of these Peter appearances that are coming up. He's appearing at, I think, 2 horror conventions, one in New Jersey, which is, I think, in March sometime, and then one in North Carolina, you said it was?
Charlotte, North Carolina, in late February.
Late February. So there's a lot of things going on. And I got the Vault April 28th. So you know,
in
it's
Cleveland.
Yeah, there's so many things going on. So when this episode airs, we'll drop all the links of all the things that are coming up.
And we're recording this on the 23rd, Tuesday night, and I'm pretty certain Gene is making an unannounced appearance to play with the Rock and Roll Residency at the Mercy Lounge in Nashville tonight. that's it, nobody has anything else, we want to thank Jonathan for joining us on the podcast.
I'm very honored. You guys are awesome.
Man,
You're welcome back
for joining
anytime.
us.
Welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
Tell us another bunch of stories. So
I would love to maybe have a stories one, and maybe like the night of the autograph stories and how I got them, and tell you funny stories about Ace.
Yeah.
Ace driving him around and how he likes to sit in his car and relax. It's fun.
let's absolutely do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's do it for sure. We'll talk.
All right.
Okay.
And
All
everybody, if you haven't seen the interviews, please watch all 3 of those with Vinnie Vincent. They're a must.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
Andrew's going to drop a lot of clips from the expo into the episode, so you'll get a taste of some of that stuff. Especially some of the performance stuff.
I can't.
Yeah. So anyway, if that's it, we will see you on the next one.
See you later, alligator.
Thanks for tuning in to Kiss My Collectibles, your source for vinyl, toys, bootlegs, and more. Visit us online at kissmycollectibles.com.